You have a fight with your boyfriend after going out to a bachelorette party. You take off on foot and disappear into the night. Nobody hears from you. After a day, police are called in. 45 miles away, a woman is abducted from the parking lot of a retail store. Hours later, a Facebook message from an admitted killer goes viral as law enforcement moves in and connects it all together. My name is M. William Phelps. I'm an investigative journalist and the true crime author of close to 50 books. I've dedicated the past 20 years of my life to helping families of the missing and murdered. Join me. We're crossing the line. Salem, Oregon is one of those places in the Pacific Northwest you have to visit. I've spent a bit of time there, both working on a serial killer case and visiting a serial killer in the state prison. And I was also robbed of my passport, iPad, and cell phone during a particular trip, which is a story I can share at some point. Bend, Oregon is southeast of Salem. Quite a hike at 2.5 hours along Interstate 20, located more in the central part of what is a gorgeous state. What I love about Oregon is how the massive pine trees juxtapose so gracefully up against enormous mountains, with those classic white peaks in the background. The air is crisp and fresh, and the people are generally laid back and enjoying life at a much slower pace than I am used to out here in anxious New England. 23-year-old Bend resident and dental assistant Kaylee Sawyer is known as KK to her friends and family. She's an energetic and attractive young woman. She loves snowboarding, sketching, poetry, and photography, among many other hobbies. KK is also a student at Central Oregon Community College in downtown Bend. KK's great-great-great-grandfather is Chief Joseph Forbear from the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, for which KK is enrolled as a member herself. One of the most incredibly obvious characteristics KK exhibits is not only how proud she is of her heritage, but how outwardly humble she is, embracing the goodness and grace and responsibility that comes with being a member of an American Indian tribe. It's July 22nd, 2016, when KK sends her dad a text indicating that she has been facing a few challenges in life recently and not getting along with her boyfriend. In fact, she tells her dad, she's been very busy lately trying to figure out a few things and has found herself in a bit of a hole. And yet anyone who knows KK will say that if there is one person who can pull themselves out of such a place, it is KK, who possesses a deep strength in finding a way through obstacles in life most 23-year-olds face at one time or another, and many more would struggle with. I must say, it cannot be easy being a teen or young adult these days. You all know life can be a bitch all on its own. It can kick you in the ass when you least expect it and present barriers that feel like when you're trying your darndest to hurdle over, there is just no way you're getting there. The next night, July 23rd, KK heads into downtown Bend for a bachelorette party. She seems to be having a good time for most of the night. A few drinks, some laughs, some talk with friends. She even dances part of the night away. I need a ride, KK says over the phone to her boyfriend at 12:04 a.m., early on July 24th. Something happened at one point late into the evening, and she's had enough for the night. After hanging up with her boyfriend, KK then texts one of her friends and apologizes for what she says were her interactions with a dude while out at a bar after the party. KK's boyfriend arrives, and by 12:14, they pull into her apartment complex not far away. A few moments after parking in the lot, they begin arguing inside the vehicle, and her boyfriend storms out of the car, slams the door, and starts to head inside the apartment. KK can cool her jets outside. He can cool his inside. KK has what look to be emerald blue eyes, and they seem to sparkle in the photos I have seen. Her smile is near perfect. And I say this often about people I profile here on the show, the way in which some of them seem to jump out of their photos and reek positivity and grace. I mean it when I say it. In KK's case, she just has the look of a woman ready to take on life and soar through it, doing whatever she dreams of. Her boyfriend reports later that KK was intoxicated, and that was partly why they fought. And when he left to go inside to the apartment, she got out of the car and stood outside the vehicle, and they fought some more. After yelling and screaming at each other, the boyfriend goes inside the apartment and leaves KK outside. KK's boyfriend texts her and tells her to come inside. This is a little bit after the argument. They've both had time to think things through. He believes she is outside walking around the parking lot. No, she tells him, I'm not. By 1 a.m., KK is long gone. She'd left on foot. She then texts her boyfriend, goodbye, and turns off her phone. The boyfriend goes outside to see if she had taken up inside the vehicle, but she's not there. One of KK's friends then calls her. No answer. The boyfriend goes to sleep, and when he wakes up, he calls KK right away. Still no answer. Things feel a bit more serious now, and perhaps she is so pissed from the previous night, she's decided on ghosting him. A word, I must say, I cannot stand. Why do we have to label the things we do now? In those days before smartphones, when you didn't call someone back or they didn't answer your call, you got the hint and you moved on. You didn't have to then apply guilt to the situation by labeling what is nothing more than a common human reaction some people have to certain situations. Anyway, rant done, let's move on. KK is missing, you could say. No one can get a hold of her. For that entire day, not one person in her circle is able to speak with her. By 7:14 p.m., July 24th, KK's mother reports KK missing to Bend police. Everyone is very concerned. Yes, KK could get mad and not talk to people. But this is beyond that now. By 7:30 p.m. that night, KK's vital information is entered into the national law enforcement databases, and she is considered an endangered missing person. Everyone is now looking for Kaylee Sawyer. About 150 people, most of whom are volunteers, gather and begin searching around the downtown Bend area, looking for any sign of KK. It goes without saying by anyone involved that time is of the essence and they need to come up with some information fast. Police begin to look at KK's phone to see if they can get any sort of location information. It's a great way to find a missing person, that is, if their phone is still turned on. And if it's not, they can at least get the last location the phone pinged off a tower and where that tower is. They soon learned that at 4:20 p.m. and again at 6:20, 2 hours later, the previous day, July 24th, Kaylee's phone pinged off a location in North Madras. This area is about 45 miles from Bend. But then, oddly enough, the phone pings at 9:46 p.m. that same night off a Bend, Oregon tower. By 4:30 a.m. on the 25th, KK's phone shows no updated information regarding location, so the phone has definitely been turned off or destroyed. By 9 a.m. that Monday, it's very clear that KK is in trouble because there is one thing she would never do, and that's miss work without calling in. At 10:30, KK's boyfriend shows up at a mutual friend's looking for her. KK is nowhere to be found. Let's take our first break here. Please subscribe to Crossing the Line wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to leave a review of the show, especially on Apple Podcasts. I'm doing this show independently now, free from any corporate or big podcasting media company involvement, which allows me to bring you more of the content you want to hear and have asked me for. This is completely our show. Reviews and subscriptions really help. You are my public relations and social media team now, and without your help, I could not do this. And that support, I must tell you, means everything. It's incredibly humbling, and I want to thank each one of you for listening. We can grow the show together, which will allow me to do even bigger things with it. If you go to crossingtheline.biz or mwilliamphelps.com, you can contact me there to suggest cases or just say hello. And look for me across all social media platforms at M. William Phelps. That's the @ symbol and my name, M. William Phelps. Be right back. "31-year-old Edwin Lara is kind of a small dude with buzzed hair and a sketchy look of paranoia. A married security officer working for the community college in downtown Bend, where KK went to school. Lara would have seen the gathering over the weekend of people searching for KK. That is, if he had been at work or even in town. But Lara had taken off at some point that weekend KK went missing. And Lara's wife, a Bend, Oregon police officer herself, hadn't seen him since. A Honduras native, Lara came to the United States in the early 90s. He is said to have been from a poor family and wound up on the streets of LA getting into gang violence as a means to survive. He escapes that life by moving to Madras, Oregon, where he then gets into drugs and alcohol. Eventually, Lara drops out of Madras High School, passes his GED, and then gets a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Portland State University. So the guy's not an idiot. He scraped and he scrapped and, seemingly, put himself on the right track. Although it appears Lara didn't have any problems to speak of while in college or later working as a security guard, there were some who came forward and explained how Lara had a strange way about him, at times saying how he had this urge to kill and how he had once hunted for victims. You get a guy like that on your radar as a cop searching for a missing young woman. You haul his ass in, you shine a light in his eyes until you're certain he's not your guy. There are wackos all over, some of whom like to brag about things they will never do. But as a cop, you have to be sure. Every minute that goes by and KK Sawyer is not back home is a minute more she could run into somebody like Edwin Lara looking to act out on his so-called urges. And yet the problem here is that nobody has made any connection between Lara and KK, who is still missing and presumed to be in big trouble. As Lara leaves Bend on Saturday night, he winds up in Salem, cruising around, hunting for someone to violate. Soon, he comes upon a 19-year-old woman just sitting in her car in the parking lot of a Ross retail store. She's minding her own business, just passing time. Lara walks up, opens her door quickly, and, with a gun pointed in her face, steps into the car and demands she take off immediately. As she drives, odd as this sounds, but also quite revealing. Lara shows the woman photos of himself dressed as a security guard. A real peach of a guy here, this clown. Then he pulls up several articles written about KK's disappearance before explaining to the woman he just got done killing her. Stop there, Lara tells the woman as she drives near a Relax Inn in Cottage Grove, Oregon. It's about midnight. He brings the woman into a room and handcuffs her to the bathroom door. He then covers her head with a shirt and says, "I'm taking a shower, and then you're next." The woman is obviously terrified. Out of the shower, Lara cannot find the key to the handcuffs, so he breaks the doorknob off the door, walks the woman over to the bed, her hands still cuffed behind her back, makes her swallow 2 sleeping pills, and pushes her down onto the mattress. He gets into bed beside her and says, "Are you still a virgin?" She's 19 years old. She's terrified she is going to die. Lara then starts sucking on her earlobe. The woman begins to explain, hoping the story will stop him from raping her, that she has a sexually transmitted disease. With that, Lara pushes himself away from her quickly, repulsed. It worked. Right now, he tells the woman, I have this urge to go outside this motel and shoot everyone I see in this place. They remain inside the room until about 1:30 a.m., and then Lara hustles the young woman into her vehicle as he drives this time, and they go south. He doesn't stop until 5 a.m. at a Super 8 motel in Yreka, California. He gets out of the car with the young woman, his hostage, and finds a 73-year-old guy sitting in a parked car nearby. He walks up to him. "Get out," Lara says.
Why are you doing this? No.
It's a carjacking. Lara wants the guy's vehicle. The guy won't move, so Lara shoots him in the stomach, and then he and the woman run toward a gas station close to the motel. He sees an older woman sitting in her vehicle, and he carjacks that vehicle with the woman and her 2 grandsons still inside. So there are now 5 people, all 4 of them Lara's hostages, riding in this car. But Lara stops along the way and tells the old woman and 2 young boys to get out, or I'll kill you. As that is happening, back in Bend, Oregon, Lara's wife is stirring. She knows something is up. After Lara calls and tells her how sorry he is for everything he's done, she calls the police, her colleagues essentially, and tells them that her husband told her he'd hit and killed a woman with his vehicle as he was driving in Bend on that Saturday night. So what he's saying is, as he was leaving that Saturday night, he struck a woman and killed her. So the search is now on for the body of the woman Lara says he struck and killed with his vehicle. Be right back.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say that I apologize for everything I've done. Most likely I'm going to get caught. And sorry about that girl. About that girl in Central Oregon. And I just want to let family members Andrea that she's fine and she will be fine because so far she's been doing what I've been going to do, you know, and if you guys are wondering if I have done dirty things to her, no, alright, I'm not that kind of guy, you know, I just killed that other girl, you know, and I regret regret it. I regret killing her. She kept screaming, and I had to silence her forever. So, like I say, she's still fine. We're driving, and she'll be home pretty soon. I'm sorry to her grandma and her family members, to her boyfriend. I'm sorry for everything that I caused. Okay, and you'll see her pretty soon. Okay, so the cops said not to shoot her, because if they shoot her, then that's not my fault. Okay, but sorry, everybody. Bye.
That clip you just heard is a video Lara makes while on the run with his hostage, the 19-year-old. He tells the woman to post it on her Facebook page under the caption, "Murderer on the loose and kidnapped." She tells him no. He says, "I will hurt you if you don't." So she posts it as a private message. Wairika police are alerted to that shooting at the motel where Lara and the girl stopped. Together with Redmond, Oregon police, the department his wife had called, they begin searching for his phone's location. They soon find Lara's car, which he had left in the parking lot when he had abducted that 19-year-old. Inside his car, they find his security guard uniform covered in blood. Then they do a search of Lara's house, and they find KK's purse, driver's license, and passport. Those three victims of Lara's, the woman and her two grandkids, are located walking along the I-5. They're okay. A new ping on his cell phone puts Lara in Redding, California, where he is finally taken into custody with the 19-year-old, who is at first thought to be his accomplice. Within 30 minutes, she is released and her family arrives to pick her up. When they found Lara, he had been armed and wearing a bulletproof vest. So the guy was obviously prepared and ready to do battle, possibly thinking about suicide by cop and taking out as many cops as he could. But that did not happen, and Lara is facing a potential death sentence for the reign of terror he caused. They start talking to him, and he says he accidentally struck KK as he was driving home from his job, though her body is ultimately discovered off the highway, hidden. The medical examiner is able to determine otherwise, as Lara is charged with attempting to sexually assault, kidnapping, and aggravated murder in KK's case, crimes that could ultimately see Lara, deservedly so perhaps, facing a death sentence. And just to give you a reference as to where Lara's mindset is, during that search of his home in Redmond, Oregon, where he lived with his wife, crime scene techs find what is a class project that Lara had completed about serial killer Angel Ramirez. Lara's notes, almost with an envious tone, say that Ramirez always killed with blunt force trauma and used weapons of opportunity he would find on hand at whatever scene where he found himself grabbing a victim. Lara murdered KK with a rock found at the scene, and she died from blunt force trauma. Lara is one of these guys you don't ever want to see out on the street again, because he was, at the time of his spree, evolving, and his crimes would only get more vicious and cruel, and he ultimately would become what he aspired to be, a serial killer. Lara is found guilty in both cases, one of which, the abduction and terrorizing of the 19-year-old, is a federal crime. He gets life for that case and also life for murdering KK. The judge calls him one of the most dangerous men who has ever walked through the courthouse. As Lara stood to speak and give some sort of benign apology for his actions, much like what we heard in the Facebook video, KK's family left the courtroom and refused to listen. Wouldn't it be something if this created a trend whereby when these scumbags stand up before the court to defend their twisted actions, the gallery cleared? It sends a message, you know? We're not going to listen to your vitriol and weak words of "I'm sorry" at a time when it only benefits you. The 19-year-old addressed the court before Lara's sentencing as well. And what she says is inspiring and courageous. And you know, it just warmed my heart to hear this. Quote, "You thought you stole my life from me, but I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. I'm a warrior. I'm stronger than I've ever been, and you are going to rot where you belong." End quote. Lara's defense argued that he had some sort of degenerative cognitive brain disability. Yeah, sounds like it in that Facebook post, right? That he's not in control of his actions. He's an idiot. He's a sociopath. I understand defense attorneys have a job to do and they need to do what they can for their clients. I know defense attorneys and I do not judge them. But here, with this sort of reaching for the sky defense, I find it nauseating and gross. In a rather strange twist to this case, in 2020, behind a Motel 6 in Bend, Oregon, some of KK Sawyer's cremated remains are discovered in a dumpster in the back of the building. They had been stolen from a nearby storage unit, along with $30,000 in jewelry and several other items. KK's remains and the jewelry and other items were placed in the storage facility as some work was being done on the family home. What possesses people to do some of the things they do? You and I will never know. But this, stealing the remains of a murder victim, is beyond disturbing and insensitive to the victim's family. I have no words, only shock and sympathy and empathy for KK's family. Look, the people probably didn't know these were the remains of a murder victim, but still, you know these are the remains of a human being. KK's mother, Julie Van Cleve, said it best when these two worthless human beings, whose names I refuse to mention on this show, were sentenced for what they did. When the defendant was done, he disposed of her body not once, but twice, like she was garbage, Julie Van Cleve told the court. And as you were going through my purse, you may have noticed a small green glass heart. And I am not sure that you deemed it worthless and threw it away. Well, to me, that glass heart held everything. And now I need to come to terms with my daughter being thrown away 3 times. I need your help. Please subscribe to Crossing the Line wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget, leave a review of the show, especially on Apple Podcasts, and log on to crossingtheline.biz or mwilliamphelps.com to contact me and suggest cases, or just say hi. And look for me across all social media platforms using the @ symbol and my name, M. William Phelps. Thank you for supporting this show. I am allowed to do it because of you, and that truly means more to me than I can say. That's it for this week. And one more reminder, 34 Fairview Road, my 10-part limited series about the murder of John O'Keefe and the arrest of his girlfriend, Karen Reed, is coming soon. Stay tuned. Be safe. Be aware. Sources for this week's episode include Kaylee Sawyer's obituary, court documents associated with the case, suspect in Bend woman's killing, hit her with car, disposed of body, KATU.com staff, July 26, 2016. Timeline, Kaylee Sawyer's death, suspect's arrest, by Shuli Wasserstrom, July 27, 2016. Crossing the Line is executive produced by M. William Phelps, LLC, and Matthew Valentinas, Mom's Basement Management. Written by me, M. William Phelps. Audio mastering and mixing by Matt Russell. Original music written and performed by Thomas Mooney, Tom Phelps, and Matt Russell.